Hello and welcome to episode 132 of the Daily Sales Message. I don't know why I did that, but there we go. If you're listening to this, I kind of jumped up in my seat there. No idea why. Episode 132 of the Daily Sales Message, where I record these things pretty much in one take because I have to pump out quite a lot of them, doing one a day. So any errors just have to go in the bag and you have to deal with it. But at this point in the game, I've spoken in my career for thousands and thousands of hours about all the stuff that I'm talking to you about here. So I should know what I'm talking about by now. Today we are talking about exposure time, something I'm calling exposure time, and it comes back to this notion, this commonly asked question that I get, which is how many times do you have to follow somebody up before they buy from you? Now, unfortunately, there's no magical answer to that. It isn't 7, it isn't 3, it isn't 25, it isn't 1. It differs from buyer to buyer, situation to situation. There's no hard and fast rule there. But one hard and fast rule that is true is the more time somebody is exposed to your offering and to your business, the more familiar they become with it, the easier it is to close them and convert them because they know more about your product or service, they know more about your company, they know more about you, potentially if you're sharing video and things, and they have a relationship with you, they have an affinity with you that they're not going to get from just seeing you once or twice. So the notion I want to talk about today, exposure time, is to think about how can you maximize the amount of time your buyers are quote unquote exposed to you. What I mean by that is not just advertising, but things like emails and things like social media. And this works for potential buyers, but also current clients too. Social media is a really interesting one because the more you can post, the more often that you're seen there, the easier it will be for you to get new potential buyers through the door because you'll increase your reach. But with every post, every comment, every interaction, you're also increasing your chances of being seen by people who are just inching their way closer to buying from you as their exposure time to you increases. So for me personally, with Clear Sales Message and Selling Confidence, I post every single day across a few social media channels. I have my daily podcast for people that just like to listen to things. I have a weekly email newsletter for people that like to read things but don't want too much of me. I also have my YouTube channel where I've got videos that I publish on a very regular basis. I'm trying to hit all of the different mediums as often as I can, be in all the places all the time, as much as is possible, allowing me to do some real work along the way, because I know that the more somebody is exposed to me, the higher the chance of them buying from me. And I had one guy in particular who bought from me about 6 months ago now. He watched 70 of my videos on my YouTube channel. He binge watched about 70 of them over the course of a few days. Really liked what I was talking about, but decided he couldn't do it himself, needed a bit of help, reached out, and then I worked with him. If I didn't have those videos there, that would not have happened. And certainly I couldn't have followed him up 70 times by email or any other way. So it's a really interesting point. So my challenge for you, my question to you today is how can you increase the exposure time with your potential buyers? Does this mean being more active on social media, sending more emails, actually putting your face out there on video, if that's appropriate for your business, for your brand, being seen at events, being on podcasts, etc.? You know in your heart of hearts how exposed you are now. Sounds strange, isn't it? How well exposed you are right now, and maybe what you could be doing to increase it. And the point I want to remind you of here is the more exposure time you get with a potential buyer, the better, because it just helps them be more familiar with your offering and it inches them ever closer to buying from you. That's it for this episode of the Daily Sales Message. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about a word which I learned from a book. The word is affordance. Affordance. Sounds like a really fancy word. It's very simple, really. Tune in tomorrow. I'll explain what it is, potentially how you can use it. But this more pertains to how we communicate, how we take on information, how we interact with the world around us, getting a bit more kind of psychological user interface, user experience, UI, UX kind of territory, but fascinating stuff. So tune in tomorrow for our episode on affordance. In the meantime, if you haven't already connected with me on LinkedIn, then please jump on over there, find me, shoot me a connection request, send me a DM. It's always really lovely to hear from listeners of the Daily Sales Message. I will see you tomorrow for another exciting edition.